So for the fourth time, welcome to Keys and Gray Unplugged. If you join us for the first time, I'd perhaps better explain from Andy's balcony here in Qatar, and it's also worth pointing out at this stage, a little bit of housekeeping. In no way have state regulations been compromised in the making of this programme. We are socially distancing, same four people putting this together, as has been the case over the previous three, and everybody being very careful. And if that's one message that I could reiterate now, and only one, please, and I know you feel the same way, Andy, stay safe, stay home, self-isolate, and be very sensible when it comes to social distancing.
Absolutely.
So to get ourselves up to date, since we were last with you with a whole host of different things that have been happening across the planet, it's biting now, isn't it?
It is.
From excess to economy, a piece by John Cross in the Daily Mirror, Andy, why this virus is a game changer. Well, for me, might be, because I don't think a lot has changed just yet. Premiership players in rugby considering legal challenges to the suggestion that they may have to take deferrals.
Yes,
at the same time, Premier League clubs are asking their players if that would be something they might find acceptable.
Deferrals or cuts in the Premier League?
I think deferrals is the word.
Right,
deferrals.
so no cuts?
Yet. At Portsmouth, everybody's now got it, or had it.
Really? Wow.
Which is quite a development. Barcelona in talks over player wages by 70%.
Wow.
Deferral. Watford, good to see. Those who have been to Watford know that it's adjacent to a hospital, Vicarage Road, and the club have said use our facilities, use our pitch, use whatever we've got.
Excellent.
If you need at the hospital going forward, which is good to see. This is another staggering number. Serie A clubs last year racking up a staggering debt of 2.3 billion.
Now you're the educated one here. How is that possible? In this world of financial fair play. No, hold on. We've seen a club like Manchester City get thrown out of Europe for owing not a penny by financial fair play. Yeah, these clubs can rack up 2.4 billion. Nah, there's something not right there.
And yet many today in a critical situation financially. In Germany, they've got together, and the Bundesliga clubs have got a fighting fund of 18 million, it seems, to hand out to Bundesliga 2 football clubs that might be struggling. It's about $1 million each, and good to see in that respect. We shall shortly be talking with Paul Halsey, the manager of Ware Football Club, whose Isthmian League side have seen their season cancelled. We also, in this programme, will be talking to Brendan Rodgers and Wayne Rooney.
Excellent.
Exclusive interviews with both. There aren't many exclusive interviews in the modern world, such as the proliferation of media, but these two, I promise you, are exclusive, and we shall be speaking with them later. Our first guest, though, is Mark Palios, the former Chief Executive of the Football Association, now the owner and chairman of Tranmere Rovers, one of those clubs whose backs are to the wall right now. Toiling a little bit this season. Mark's campaign not helped when a friend of his sent a smiley face after Coventry had won at Prenton Park earlier this season.
I wonder who that was, that. Yeah, I wonder who that was.
And Mark joins us from his home in Noctura. Mark, it's good to hear you still laughing. How are things for you?
Not so bad. It was nice to be billed as my interview's not exclusive, so I'm more than happy with that page.
That's a shocker, Mark. Apologies for that.
Talking head.
How difficult is it right now, Mark? Well, listen, ordinarily it's not easy when you're running a club in the EFL, is it? But right now, how difficult?
Yeah, it is. And all the clubs are different. But what you're seeing is actually you started off with what were quite staggering figures about how with financial fair play can you build up a debt of 2 billion. But the fact of the matter is the football runs on ambition. And what happens is all over the place, to a greater or lesser extent, everybody lives hand to mouth. So you don't build up any sort of reserves, and you tend to have a lot of debt around, and debt actually has to be paid. And when the income streams stop, how do you pay it? If you then look at where we are as a lower league club, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, it could have been 2 years ago now. I just sent a quick email into the EFL just to size the financial deficit that I think was going to hit clubs, and with gates being a massive part of the income of the lower league, much more relevant than it is higher up. for us, if you took us as an average club, I said it would probably cost us about £500,000 out of our cash flow just by stopping those games that they stopped towards the end of the season, the 5 or 6 home games. If you multiplied that out across League 1 and 2, that gives you a 20 to 25 million hole in the cash that everybody would have been planning for. And that, that's not small. Now, if you then roll it on and say, well, you're looking at what's going to happen, and so after that, the next day I looked at it and thought, well, everything seems to be saying that we're not going to start playing for a lot longer than the 30th of April. And you say that runs out to, say, July or August, and you plan for that. Well, of course, you're going to get season ticket monies, which clubs rely on at our level during the summer months. And then, of course, the people who are maybe getting their last paycheck in March, not knowing where it's going. It's not a great conversation with your partner to come in and say, look, I'd like to put £400 in for a season ticket for Tranmere Rovers. When's the season start and when you're going to get paid again? So if you take that cash out, that gets another £500,000. So over the summer, it felt to me that it looked like a hole of about £1 million out of a normal club's cash flow, which would then be, 50 million for the 2 leagues. And that's just League 1 and 2. I didn't even go anywhere near the Championship because we know the arithmetic there is far more serious. And just to sort of, keep on going on this theme, you're saying, well, how would I, because my job was working out crisis situations, you look at what you're spending, and what you're spending is quite difficult because on the one hand, you've got the majority of it of players' wages, which are contracted. So there's very little you can do, subject to the ones coming out of contracted, say, on the 30th of June, which is another issue altogether. So really quite a difficult set of circumstances. And the EFL responded quickly, which was good. But they put in roughly about 450,000 into clubs. Of that, 250 of that was coming out the hole a few months later on anyway. So if you look over the summer period, that doesn't really fix.
Mark, a couple of things.
Sorry, mate. I'm an accountant. You know that. So.
Yeah.
By trade, yes.
Mark, just let me ask you a couple of things. One, is there a possibility in this financial state that we're finding ourselves in, the EFL in particular, we could lose some clubs? And when we come out of this period, we might not have as many full-time, they might not be there that we've had. And two, should the Premier League do more in helping the EFL clubs?
Yeah, I mean, you're right in what you're saying in the first premise. As to whether we will lose clubs, who knows, because there's a lot of water to go under the bridge. But actually, if you look at the financial landscape down the lower divisions, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see there's a problem there. The clubs are not paying their wages just on a normal day. There's administration being mooted. There are High Court winding up orders being answered, and Bury went out of existence. So already the financial landscape was pretty poor. If you overlay on top of that the cash flow indications that we've got, then there's obviously a serious issue. I say there's much more water to go under the bridge. I'm part of the EFL's financial working party, and we're looking at that, and we're looking at how you address, again, filling the hole in the short term, which gives you the time to then get a longer term solution. Part of filling that hole, I think there has to be a bit of self-help. The government have, for example, put this furloughing scheme in place. So that's what we're working on now, trying to get an industry-wide acceptance of that, so we get that will bring some cash into the hole. If I'm a betting man, the next thing that would be filling the hole would probably be a deferral of wages. It doesn't mean that they've been cut, but a deferral of wages, which may help us through the April scenario, the April wage, which again gives us more time to sort things out. And then if you go through from that, whatever else comes into that cash hole that I talk about, well, the Premier League, who will be dealing with Sky and dealing with that their partners have a massive financial issue to sort out there. All we can hope for is that what is already in our cash flow forecast in terms of solidarity payments is still there at the end of this window that I'm talking about.
Mark Lewis,
should they help? Yes, I think they should help, but I think they've got to sort themselves out first before they understand how much they can help.
You more than most, Mark. It's something I said to Andy here the other day. This business is very, very selfish, arguably more than any other that I know. But further down behind you, the Football Association yesterday moved to cancel the seasons of a host of clubs Isthmian League and associated others. Now, there's a debate raging, started here, I think, as to whether that should apply further up. A, do you think it's going to be the case that we should reset the clocks? And B, would it help you if that was so, thinking about bringing season ticket money in through June and July and starting fresh whenever we can, August, September?
Yeah, there's a lot of points in that, Keezy. The first thing is, there are basic differences in terms of the economic pressures that people have got. Look, this is a totally unique situation. It's a situation nobody would want to be in.
Of course.
And people are trying to make decisions on imperfect information. We don't know when the league's going to start. We don't know what the situation's going to be as regards playing behind closed doors. We don't know when the virus itself is going to disappear from the streets, as it were. So, accepting all of that, I think you've got to be a bit sympathetic to people sort of making decisions. In terms of where the FA were with the clubs below, I think it's National League South and North. I mean, if you look at them as a group of companies as such, they of course have part-time players who have other jobs, etc. So there's probably a different set of issues hitting them, and I'm not really totally across those issues. I think from a sporting perspective, and I've said this many times, and it's not just because our good friends Liverpool would potentially win the league if we finish the league off, or the fact that we're we're currently in a relegation position in League One. But I have to say, we had a real good momentum. We won 3 away from the trot, which you very rarely do. So, but for me, I think you've got to look at the sporting integrity was the first thing, and I felt that, and this is about putting perspective on it. I felt that if you finish the league, whenever you finish the league, it didn't really matter, and if it pushed into next season, so what? So what if it takes us 1, 2, or 3 years to get back a month at a time or whatever, and you then get back into what we now consider normality? These are abnormal times, so the abnormal solutions. The real issue, I think, is that the point you make is a very good one, that if we don't have certainty, then the season tickets may not come in. And again, that's just in the balance. There's so many things to take into account. When you start to look at what we're looking at, for example, if you're looking at the cash flows of the clubs that I just talked about, we only have 10 players in contract as of the 30th of June, as we stand at this point in time. And nobody's worked that out. What happens there? I have to say, I'm actually quite optimistic that at the end of this, I have to be optimistic that my wife persuaded me to buy Tranmere Rovers. So.
No. You persuaded your wife to let you buy Tranmere Rovers.
That's more like it.
No. This has been Socratic. My wife's not there.
Well, listen, Mark.
I just think that when we come out of this, because of the focus of the fact that A, all the clubs are hand to mouth, B, the wages market is just ridiculous.
Agreed.
That we can come out with some very simple controls, and the controls have to be simple, because if you start to go back to where you started, if you start to look at financial fair play, it's about people talking about profits, then you have all the esoteric accounting issues that you deal with. No, make it simple. Make it as simple as possible. Just put wage caps in. And try it for 2 years when we come out of this, because when we come out of this, you're going to have a lot of clubs that are financially weaker, and you don't want to go straight back into that ridiculous market that we had.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mind-boggling, Mark, as you sit there worrying about Tranmere Rovers. We often discuss players' wages, £350,000 a week at the top level,
Right.
and more.
500,000
a week. What happened? Yeah. Anyway, we do wish you well, Mark.
Yes,
Thank
Mark.
you very much for talking to us.
Cheers, guys.
Good luck going forward, however it pans out.
Thanks, mate.
That garden of yours should be looking fantastic when we come out of this other end. Thanks, Mark.
Well, our next guest is one of those people directly affected by the decision of the Football Association this week to null and void their football season. He's Paul Halsey, the manager of Ware Football Club, a small club in Hertfordshire. They are top of the Isthmian League at the moment, 6 clear, and Paul joins us now via Skype. Paul, first question, and I want you to give some consideration to this. How many times down the years have you denied that you're Mark Halsey's brother?
Well, quite a lot. Quite a lot. You wouldn't believe, Richard. I'll tell you now. Obviously, I don't know if you're aware that I'm a big Arsenal fan, and a season ticket holder back in. I've still got my season ticket at the Arsenal, so he's caused me a lot of trouble over the years. I can assure you. Believe me, you know.
No, you're not alone. It's caused us a lot of trouble as well, Paul. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So having established this is Mark's brother, Paul, your day yesterday, I would suggest he was fairly dramatic. How did it unfold?
Yeah, so I received a tweet from someone, copied it and just sent it on a private message regarding it's not been concluded regarding National League, whether they're going to be it's going to be folded or not. And then I thought, we've got a little bit of hope here, you know, because no one was told up until this time what the decision was. And then out of the blue, a statement come from the FA, a tweet that League Step 3 to Step 7, I think, which for you would be Step 7 to 10 or 11 in the pyramid, had been null and void. So I got to see it on a tweet. My secretary hadn't even been told, so they obviously tweeted the FA before letting the secretaries know. And it was a massive surprise because they only made a decision the day before, and I thought, you know, what way they was going to go, and they were split between everyone, the leagues. And then I thought, it's going to be a few days before this comes out, you know, and then bang, we got that yesterday, and and here we are.
Was there any consultation, Paul, between you and the FA with regards to the decision that they've taken?
Not the clubs directly, Andy. I think you'll find the representatives of the league, maybe the chairman of all leagues. They had a meeting or a conference call on Monday, I believe, and that's when it's discussed. I think you'll find it's each league, like the Isthmian League, the Southern, they'll send their chairmen or whatever, and they do it with the FA.
What Paul, sorry to interrupt,
and the conference.
What are the repercussions? What does this mean for your football club?
Well, I think it's massive, really, because, you know, it's say that we get promoted. We've started, if you look at the history of where over the last 10, maybe 15 years, they've always been down the bottom, they've been struggling a little bit. And now we just started, the chairman, and fair play to the chairman, he's put a lot of money, of his own money into the club and putting a 4G pitch down, etc. So we've got an all-weather surface to play. We've got a big setup in the youth. So going forward, you know, going up to the next level, you play the bigger size, bigger fans, bigger crowds come in. So I think financially it's going to be a hit in the pocket for the club, personally. You know, but people would argue, well, you haven't got promoted, or there's no guarantee you was going to get promoted. But you know, I'm guaranteed now that we would probably been in the playoffs, but. And hopefully have won the league.
Mark,
Mark,
sorry,
yes.
Paul.
Yo,
that's a terrible mistake to make.
Mark,
Paul, if
called me Mark, I've been called Mark plenty of times, Richard.
Yeah.
Paul, if they did this all the way through to the top of the pyramid, would you accept the decision? Has that got to happen for you to feel better?
I think everyone would, because you know it's got to have a knock-on effect. You know, even going for the Premiership, Liverpool. Then they get your relegations, then it goes for your Leeds and your West. If they get promoted, it's a knock-on effect all the way down, isn't it? It's someone's got to go up, someone's got to go down. So now we've been cancelled at Step 3 level, which is Step 7. I'll have to keep remember that so you understand that level of it. But so you're going to tell me then the Conference North, Conference South, no one gets promoted, and then and no one goes down. From Step 3 to upwards, if you know what I mean. You're telling me that's right. I don't believe that these people that have spent, you know, their money on their clubs to try and get them that promotion. It's so much, maybe not as much as it would be for me, but if going up to the National League, you know, from the south and north, it's massive.
Yeah.
You know, going up, you know, from the national to the Division 2, it's going to be massive for clubs. You know, my argument is the FA have put a statement out, but no one's telling us why this is being done.
Yeah.
Who, you know, financially, you know, it's say you sponsored Wear FC, the shirts, Richard, and you spent, it's say £7,000, and then all of a sudden I say, yeah, sorry, we're none and void in the season, and you're going to think, hold on a minute, I've spent £7,000 of my money to sponsor your shirts to see that through. You know, the fans have come in and paid their money. You get old age pensioners coming to our game, all right, albeit a £5, they pay a £5 to get in. They, you know, their pension money. Who's going to reimburse that? Who's going to reimburse the loss of revenue between now and the end of the season?
No.
Nightmare.
I just wonder, Paul, do you actually think that the FA have maybe jumped too quickly with this decision?
Massively. I think they've gone too quick. I think what they should listen. This is unprecedented times. I get that, and I understand that is more important than football. If it's about, you just do away with it, do away with everything. But what you could have done, and this is what I've said all along, wait till May, June, and then make that decision. Because at the end of that, we've got 8 games left. They can be caught up. If you have to start, and this is if you start the season next year, if you have to start the season in October, fine, do away with all the cup games. Don't have silly games. You know, we have cup games and there's, you know, League Cup games and then the County Cup games, and maybe going forward for the pros, do away with all that. You know, I'm sure really, I mean, these boys at the top level, I'm sure, you know, they're £300,000 a week, they can play 2 games a week. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, they should have delayed the decision, look at it. If it ain't going to happen, then stop it all through the board. But if not, delay the next season.
Paul, we feel your pain being the brother of both Mark and manager of Ware Football Club right now. And good luck to you with everything going forward.
Thanks, Paul.
Lovely. Great talking to you guys. Thanks very much.
See you, Paul. Thanks. That goes down in broadcast blooper history, calling Paul Mark. Apologies again. Anyway, on we go. Our next guest, I'm delighted to say, the Premier League football manager, knows plenty about Liverpool, of course, because he coached there. Brendan Rodgers joins us. Brendan, hi, how are you?
Hello, Richard. Hello, Andy. Certainly very proud to be here. I'm very proud to be on your show. I've been watching you guys since I was very small. You know, in fact, I've got 3 inches smaller since, but I'm very proud. When I told Colo Torre I'd be on the show, he was over the moon. You know, he said it's a big show on the Ivory Coast. About 27 people watch it every episode, so certainly very proud. For me, you are the 2 most beautiful human beings in the world. And you know, as I said before, it looks great where you guys are. Andy's balcony. You know, me and Colo have been there quite a lot this year for a few wee parties. So. Oh, sorry, it was Richard not meant to know. Oh, yeah, sorry, no, we've not been. But it looks beautiful where you are, but certainly very proud to be on the show, guys.
Brendan, we've been talking a lot in our shows about the season. Should it end now? Should it be null and void, or should it be played to a finish? What's your opinion?
Well, I think for me, you know, certainly the league cannot be void. I don't really see how that would be fair. You know, on obviously the clear winners of the Premier League, Leicester City, because we were so close to Liverpool. You know, I felt as though we were ready to catch them, and then we get the wee break. And it's not come at a good time for us, really. We were on a great roll. I think we'd won 3 games in 19, so we were flying. You know, we really were. But I'm hoping that it's not void. You know, we're in a good position, and hopefully we can go back and we can win that Premier League, because it wouldn't be fair. It really wouldn't.
Another area of controversy, Brendan, what do you do? Players out of contract on June the 30th? I mean, are you talking to people now about joining you?
Well, it is, of course. It's a time where you can bring in players and certainly speak to players. You know, I've been on the phone, you know, and they pick the phone up and I say, hi, it's Brendan Rodgers from Leicester City, and for some reason the phone just seems to go silent. So it must be a wee signal problem here in Leicester. But I've spoke to Luis Suarez, who's a wonderful, beautiful human being with great character, great intensity, part of the group. So I'm going to bring him in. So I'm hoping we can bring him in. I've reached an agreement with him. He's a wonderful player with a wonderful appetite for human flesh, but certainly to bring him in would be great. We've both reached an agreement, and the agreement is that he's never going to come to Leicester. So that's not going to happen. But certainly, as I said before, guys, very proud to be on the show. You two beautiful, beautiful human beings.
Well, it's great to hear from Brendan Rodgers.
Suarez back in for again.
Extraordinary, Andy. If he could pull that one off, that really would be. And so to our last guest on this particular programme, spent a lot of his time recently, of course, playing football in America. Derby County's Wayne Rooney joins us. Wayne, how are you?
Yeah, I think obviously it's great to be on the Richard Gray and the Andy Keys show. It's obviously a great show, and delighted to be here. It's quite early here. I know obviously it's 11 o'clock where you guys are in, but obviously it's we're 3 hours behind, so it's only 12 o'clock. So I'm quite tired at the moment, but obviously this being on self-isolation, it gives you a lot of time to think. So it hasn't led anywhere for me just yet, but I think that obviously it's been a great year for me. Personally, obviously I was at DC United and it was quite tough, and I decided one day in training that I wanted to leave and go back to England. So I went into during a coaching session, I went into the manager's office and I asked him for a transfer request. He asked me to put it in writing. So that was the end of that. But of course, I managed to negotiate and get myself away, and then County Derby came in. Sadly, no other the top clubs came in, and so I had to settle for County Derby, and they came in, and obviously negotiations were tough, and they offered me 200 grand a week, but I asked them to double that and give me 100. So to be fair to them, obviously they gave me what I wanted quite quick. But yeah, obviously I think the focus now is look, after the self-isolation we get back, and we get back into training for County Derby, and hopefully we can get ourselves promoted straight away and get right up to League One.
Genius.
He's very good.
Difficult times.
He's very good.
Thank you, Wayne Rooney and Brendan Rodgers.
He could do me.
He being Darren Farley. There are a few boys doing impersonations now. None better than Darren, in my view. And we thank you again, Darren, for taking time out to help us today with our beIN Sports exclusives. That's it from this programme. Join us going forward next week on the Richard Gray and Andy Keys show.